Just like when you were there, like did you grow up there, and just a basic thing about what it was like?
Um, well, I first I grew up in Mexico City. I was born in Mexico City, but my father was a diplomat. So we lived all over the world for the first 8 years of my life. So it wasn't until I was 8 years old that we went back to Mexico City. And I grew up there pretty much until I got married.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea. In Mexico City is a big city, one of the biggest cities in the world. When I was growing up, at one point, it was the biggest city in the world. It's not any longer because it has stabilized the population, and other cities in other countries like Shanghai and Beijing and Tokyo, Yokohama have grown. So it's not now it's like maybe the fourth or the fifth largest, but still big city. So and as any big city, it has a lot of different parts, and the people that live in the city, of course, are very diverse in their economic status and the background. So like any big city, you have people that are very poor, that live in the outskirts. There's an area on the east side of Mexico City that is called Nezahualcóyotl. Nezahualcóyotl was an Aztec king. He was a poet, and that place was called after him. But the city was actually built out of whatever they could find, people that were coming from the rural areas trying to find work. And they just settled there and built their homes there without permits or anything. Kind of, not necessarily squatters, because it didn't belong to any people, it belonged to the government. It was the state's area, so the state just let them do it. And now that area has almost 3 million people just by itself. And so there's a lot of very poor people that have tried to make their living there, and has grown, and the government has put services there so that to help the people. So that's one side of the story. And then you have other areas like any other big city where you have very, very, very rich people. Okay, one of these areas called Lomas, of the hills, as you can imagine, and they have huge homes and gated communities, just like any big city. So the differences between the different in Mexico, there's no really racism. There's classism.
Oh.
That means that the strata is more based on class, on economic class, than on race. Because, as you know, with Latinos, we come from a lot of different backgrounds. We have Afro-American background, we have Asian backgrounds, we have European backgrounds. So we are really mestizos. We are the product of a lot of different groups that came together and created a new nation, basically, or new nations.
Race, yeah.
So you don't discriminate based on race or color of your skin, but you might discriminate based on
What
class,
you wear, yeah.
whether you're poor or whether you're rich. Especially if you are very close to the indigenous people, you might feel some discrimination. And not necessarily because you are indigenous, but because of your educational status.
Oh.
In rural areas, the education system is not as good as you can imagine as it is in the cities. So most people in the rural areas only reach like third grade, maybe fourth grade of elementary school.
Yeah, we read that some places the highest level of education is like
Right.
6th grade.
Like 6th grade. So they're more agricultural. They're really farmer ranchers, people that live off
The land.
And so, like in all societies, even here in the United States, education itself wasn't as important because it's more important for them to work in the field, work with the family, and help them, just like any agricultural family. Obviously now, one of the things that happened is that after they signed the NAFTA agreement, you know the NAFTA agreement?
Yeah, North American
North
Free Trade
American
Agreement.
Free Trade Agreement, which they opened the
Oh,
borders
right,
to
yeah.
trade. What happened is that the United States produce, like corn and beans and all that kind of stuff, is highly subsidized. And they just, because of the free trade agreement, they were able to just, the farmers here, to really bring all the produce into Mexico, highly subsidized, and the Mexican little farmers, they couldn't compete. About 3 million farmers lost their farms because of the NAFTA agreement. So the NAFTA agreement opened the doors to trade and to services freely, but didn't open the doors to the free exchange of labor, which means that a lot of people that lost their farms and lost their sustenance, their job, the way of living, well, they followed where their jobs went.
So
the jobs
the
came
urban.
here.
Oh, that makes sense.
And that's why a lot of people had to come here to survive. But because they didn't have, because the free trade agreement didn't allow for this free travel of people, that they had to take a lot of risks to try to come here. If you have a time, on November 8th at Edgewood College, there's going to be a movie presented about the people that had to cross the border. There's going to be a vigil to honor all the 165 people that have died since last year in Arizona, trying to make it to the United States. So that's one of the big, tragedies of our times, and one of the perils of the current system that we have. Obviously, that's kind of like a political statement, but that is the truth. So you can see that there's difference. On the other hand, like in any other part of the world, the people that have an education, people that have skills that the United States needs, they have a little easier time getting a visa or opportunity to come here. So we have also people that have skills that have come here with work permits, that have higher degree engineers and other kind of people. But even in that case, if you come from Latin America, it's a lot more difficult to get a permit to come here and work than if you come in, say, from Asia, from India, from China, as you can imagine. So, that's the other side of the coin. There's a lot of people from Latin America that have, say, medical degrees or engineering degrees, and come here, and they cannot work in that field.
Yeah, my friend's mom, she had a pharmacy degree.
They don't have the permit.
Yeah.
So they have to work. Many people work whatever job you can find. You might be a doctor, be working. It's not that it's denigrate on anything to be a maintenance person. That's an honest job. But if you have the skills and the degree,
should be able to work as a doctor.
We allow them to? It's when we need so many doctors and so many engineers,
right,
and so many people with skill, and politics prevent them to do it. So growing in Mexico City depends on where you come from. It's also the difference. But the difference in Mexico City is that because a lot of the services, like in big cities, is concentrated in Mexico City, a lot of people come there to be able to get the services, to be able to survive, to be able to get jobs, to be able to sell. And because obviously, like here in Mexico, public education is free, but it's free through college. It's free through college.
Oh.
Which means that people can really actually go to college.
Yeah, no debt.
And have no debt at all. And I myself have seen the power of education. And in Mexico City, for example, in Mexico in general, it's very common for middle-class families, not very rich, just middle-class families, to have help at home. Somebody that maybe a person from a rural area looking for a job will be able to come to your home and help you with cooking and cleaning and and even live in your home. Even as a low middle class family can afford to do it. And help the people be able to have a job and have a place to live. And my family, I was a middle class family. I wasn't poor, but we weren't rich. Hi.
You can actually meet in his office, his
Yeah?
actual office. So why don't we just go quick transfer over